Dear Lord God, just once again that we humbly come before your throne of grace to thank you, Lord God, for all of your many blessings bestowed upon the citizens of Dillon. Dear Lord God, we ask that you continue to bless our mayor, our city council members, our city manager, city attorney, and all department heads on tonight as we are gathered together to make the decisions for the betterment of all the citizens of Dillon. And we pray in everything that we do, be careful to give your name the glory, your name the honor, and your name the praise. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ben. Everybody here this evening on this busy night, rainy night. Got a change in the agenda. We need to add something about a submission of an application to the CDBG grant program. Have a motion to do that?
Make the motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All against? All right. Home. Have approval of the minutes for August 13th.
Make the motion.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And I'm going to skip about everything I have. Probably take half of your stuff. But, of course, getting calls, and I know Glenn is all day on the storm, what's happening with garbage, sandbags, you name it. I've had it. So, Betsy, I know you'll put it in the paper. We are opening up to fill sandbags behind the city shop. Bring your own bag, bring your own shovel. What's not allowed are front-end loaders to load your pickup out there, okay? So bring your bags, bring your shovel, if you get all you want, that's how you get it. There's no other way. Keep an eye if the storm is bad. Saying it is, but if it is, if it's something like 2 years ago, I know Glenn posts on your Facebook page, I did too, of anything you might need to know about water being delivered, information transferred to us from the power company, anything. If you will just monitor that, we'll do the best we can. I don't know a better way. It worked very well 2 years ago, and I assume it'll work well this year. We'll try to keep up as best we can. Garbage will run through Wednesday.
As of right now.
As of right now, through Wednesday. Everybody in the city, Betsy, please put it, check your catch basin, your drains this week. The city's doing all they can, but if you can go out in your front yard, you've got one, and if it's covered up, please uncover it. That's a huge help. Your animals. I read stories about animals being tethered to trees, to their cages and everything. God, don't forget them. Sightseers. Last 2 years ago, the biggest problem we had were people getting out in cars where boats should be. They stretched us to the limit with rescue calls, flooding out, and having to get them off the hood of the car. Needless to say, please don't do that. We had a lot of problems with people riding around in larger trucks when the water was high, causing the waves, crashing into businesses. Please don't do that if you can help. It makes things worse. And one thing I haven't discussed with you today is you want to go ahead and name a time if power's out as far as a curfew.
Now, let's just wait and see before we get that.
One thing you can check on is social media. I think got called today, the Red Cross will be in the Wellness Center. So schools are closing tomorrow. And lastly, I think this year we're more prepared than we ever have been. We've learned from Matthew. Dug out the ditches, cleared a lot of drain lines, so we're as ready as we're going to be. All we do is wait. On another subject, the guy with the hotel, let me give you a little update on that. Wait, what I can. It was hard getting back to him. He's been quiet about it. They've been busy. But they are moving forward with it. I don't even know if the closings happened yet, but they're meeting with the owner of the property. He's talking about purchasing additional property for a meeting room, and they are looking at a full-scale restaurant in that hotel. got some challenges on parking they're trying to work through, and it's taken a little longer to add that building to the historic district, from what I was told. So the hotel's still on the table, and that is such good news as a catalyst or an anchor for our Main Street. I can't think of a better catalyst for Main Street today. And if they do, what they're planning to do will be a big hit for our downtown Main Street section. Holding whatever we can do to make that a reality, bring it to us, we'll do all we can. The Christmas show with Scrooge, auditions have been done. I tried to help them get as many to audition as they can. I think they got about 30 that's going to be in that program. A couple of them, a few of them have to do dual parts. So you'll be hearing more about that in the next couple of weeks. They're already practicing. It'll be a big deal for our town at the Dillon County Theater. Big deal. It's a great crew that's heading that. And they're using a lot of local talent, a lot of out-of-town talent, but they got probably half of it with local talent too. And the only other thing I noticed, next couple of months, we're going to surpass 1 million on the hospitality fund for the first time. Probably a month after that, we're going to have to write a check for the mortgage. Other than that, that's all I have.
What's that?
Hospitality fund, hospitality
It's
fund.
gotten over with me.
Next
But we gotta write.
We've got to write a check for the witnesses.
It's 236 now, 233. We do that in December.
February, isn't it?
Yeah, February.
Yeah,
February.
February.
Okay.
That's right. Just briefly, the upfit grants we put out for advertisement, we had five grants to be submitted. Board of Architectural Review will meet Monday on the 17th to review those grants, to see what they're going to do and if there's things they need to do to get approval from the Board of Architectural Review. Once that's done, I have scheduled tentatively right now September 24th, which is 2 weeks from tonight, for council to look at the upfit grants and determine who's going to get those grants. But I think all that's going to also determine whether these dates stay the same based on the storm, since they'll be scheduled to meet next Monday. But you will get copies of this stuff well enough in advance prior to the meeting so you can look at them. If you have any questions, you can call us and we can try to answer them to the best of our ability.
Has anything changed as far as the upfit grants from the time we did it the previous time and now? What I'm trying to ask you is, we've given out $24,000 roughly of the money of the previous year, and we don't have anything to show for it. So can we try to put something there, they gotta have a completion date
Well, there's,
Before-
yeah.
before they
Yep.
get their money?
The upfit grant, and that's something we have to look at, but there is a change in how you qualify for one. I redid it to kind of mirror City of Florence's, and restaurant, retail store would be the highest consideration versus a law office, something of that nature. And it also depends on how much work's going to be done, if they can get it done within 9 to 10 months too. And that may be something you have to consider when y'all doing it.
I agree with what Johnny's saying, but it is horrible when someone tells you for weeks and weeks and weeks, I'll be there tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow. And it is, it's almost the rule that they're not going to be there. And I hear from a number of young people who are trying to do things that our code is so tough that, if you put a doorknob on, you got to have a $250, business license. And I'm not getting on, but, they say that it's just, the people from outside say, I won't go to Dillon and work because that's so tough. And I tell Nicholas, I said, Nicholas, I don't think we're any different than any other place.
We're not.
but the volume's not here. I don't know what,
Oh, and we're not. I mean, if every municipality does, I mean, we all follow the same.
maybe what we need is a first-time user. You know, maybe having it a little bit less so that they'll get their foot in the door. You know, the first year maybe 50% off or something. So they get their foot in the door, find out how much business there is, and then they don't mind paying. I mean, you know, if you've got one job and it's $250 and it's a $1,000 job, then they're not going to come and do it. But if they had 100 jobs, that $250 is dispersed over that many jobs, and it's, I don't know, and what happens is the local talent is just overwhelmed.
Oh, they are.
And it's true, you just, you know, you're in line.
But to go back to your answer.
But this
Yeah.
goes exactly to his
Yes.
answer.
It does.
You can't get people to work if there's so much work out there, they can just pick and choose what they want to do.
But I also think in these two that we did this past year, I don't believe it could be done in 12 months.
Well, I'm not saying 12 months,
But I mean,
you
what
know,
I'm saying,
I think
in our
there ought to be
budget
some
year.
type of guideline in place to
Yeah.
where if we giving them their money now, what makes them want to be expedited on doing what they need to do? I'm not saying they're not, but I mean, we have nothing to show for it. We give them $24,000, you know, roughly. I don't know exactly what it is.
Look, Fed, I don't know if it's
And we're
been that
getting ready,
much, but
and the reason I asked, we're getting ready to give 2 more out. I mean,
Well, the flip side is, you spend your money first, and then
well, that is true.
You know,
They have to
when you
spend their
finish
money.
the project, we'll give you our side up.
But I also think this coming year, what's been presented, they're buildings that are actually operational, I guess, and not condemned. So I don't think you're going to have, because on those two, I mean, they not only just had roof problems, they had
Everything.
extensive
Right, I understand.
problems, and hopefully, you know, both have told me that their plans are to continue to go forward.
I know Harold Hutchins
Yeah.
is totally frustrated with, you know, with all that's happening. Not with us,
No,
but with
with his stuff.
But one more thing too is that, is there anything we can put there, they can't sell the building if they get our money without, you know, with the length of time. We can give them, let's say somebody puts a new roof on, I don't know what people's intentions are, but let's say a year later they sell that property, and we give them $15,000 to replace a roof, and they only got $15,000 in it. How does the city, you know, how do we recoup our money? Is it fair to the taxpayers to fork this money out and they have nothing to show for it? I mean,
you mean that
is there any time
what
frame?
you're saying is
on-
maybe we ought to have, if they sell it in 5 years, they have to repay at a profit.
Yeah.
If they sell it for a profit, then, you know,
But now, and it's, I understand where you're coming, and you and I have had this discussion, but let's just use a Kentire house. I'll use Kentire house as an example, because I think they have applied.
Yes.
He fixes that roof and decides to sell to Outback Steakhouse.
Okay.
Well, the taxes on that building will still be the same, but we're probably gonna get more hot meals tax on it. So I mean, I guess, are we cutting our nose in spite of our face?
Well, I was
or
just
something?
asking the
Yeah.
question because
Yeah.
I don't know going forward how it really works. You know, I just don't want us to get the bad end of the stick and they get our money.
It's all about proving the building, in my opinion,
Yeah.
whether they sell it or not. That's why you do it.
Well,
I mean,
if that's the
it's-
case, we ought to put some type of time frame on to get the buildings approved in. If that's the case, we get
Well,
ready to hand out 2 more grants. Let's put a time limit on to where they gotta have it, to where if they do sell it, or they can, you know, have a new restaurant or whatever, it's, you know, it does the city good. Right now, we got 2 buildings that you can see
Well,
the sky.
yeah, that's
through.
right.
And, you know,
And those two, I think, are
and I-
unique.
And I understand that.
Yeah, I think those two are unique because they were condemned buildings and had no roof type deal. I believe, like I said, the 5 that we got, those buildings are pretty much in operation to some degree. That 1 or 2 may be vacant, but they're not condemned. But I mean, those are good questions, and we need to look at that and see how we can handle that. And we could extend the time period. We're just trying to keep it within our budget, so we don't have outstanding, instead of 30,000 in a year, 60,000, even though we budgeted that money the previous year, we'd have to do something to bring it over to the next year, am I correct? So, I mean, and it is a learning process on our behalf, so. Now, as far as the facade grants go, those went well this past year. I don't know if anybody's applied, have they?
No, sir.
But those are first come, first served. But they still have to go before the bar in some cases, doing something on the outside of their building as far as paint colors or signs and that. And we usually handle that in-house and take care of that. But as of right now, they're scheduled to meet on the 17th of September at 5:30, and if they meet then, we'll send out something the following day to you as council to let you know we're meeting on the 24th for y'all to determine who's going to get those grants. Hurricane is on everybody's mind. We started talking about it as a staff last week. We started doing some preparing last week. We've ordered Hardy has ordered some portable generators, and I'm not talking small, I'm talking large generators for some of our lift stations that we have that we need to continue to run if we should lose electricity. So they'll be on site tomorrow. We are getting rid of as much wastewater that we possibly can right now. Just prepare for possible anywhere. The last report I showed, or had been shown, expected rainfall total is anywhere from 8 to 12 inches. Now that could change, but that's what they're expecting right now. Don't know the time period of that 8 to 12, but that's what they're calling for. So we are doing some things there. Burt's crew began cleaning catch basins today. We'll start on some outfall ditches and canals tomorrow and troubled areas that we had 2 years ago, making sure that stuff is open and flowing properly. But once again, if we get 8 to 12 inches in a short period of time, it doesn't matter how much we do. I mean, we're gonna have issues, just because it's just slow getting out of town with the size of our pipes. We learned something 2 years ago that we're preparing for and hope to have completed no later than Wednesday afternoon, pending the weather. But most of all of the equipment that's down at the street department on South First Avenue is going to be relocated. Excuse me, either at the wellness center on those grounds or at the wastewater plant, since we didn't have any issues at neither one of those two locations last year or 2 years ago. We're putting sandbags around the office area at the street department to keep water from out of the office. Hopefully it will work. We're not really concerned about the big garage area, because all that's going to be really picked up and put up on the second floor. That cannot be located at the wellness center or the wastewater plant. So we're doing some preparations there. I'll just piggyback off of what the mayor commented earlier. Some of our biggest issues 2 years ago, not just was the flooding, but it was our sightseers going through areas, drowning out their vehicles, tying up resources. So Betsy, if you can put it on your Facebook page, we're asking people to just stay off the streets until the storm has gone away and we can assess what type of damage we may have. And then city offices right now, I'm looking to close at the earliest at 5 o'clock on Wednesday, but that's all going to depend on what the projections of the storm is on tomorrow and Wednesday morning. Sanitation wise, we're picking up, we know right now through Wednesday. If the winds are not too high on Thursday, we may pick up Thursday. It's going to depend on what the winds and the speeds are, because some of the neighborhoods we're in, so with large oak trees, and don't want to car people in harm's way if all possible. Police department's on go, fire department's on go, all of our employees are on go. Anybody that's on vacation has been asked to come back, and no vacation or time off until after the storm has came and gone. Any questions concerning that?
I remember the last time we had a lot of trees and everything down, and they got, the city said they couldn't, handle everything. Have we contracted with the state?
Well,
That's what we did last time.
Probably what will happen if it's like it was the previous time, The state will bring somebody in, they will pick up alongside their roads. You know, we'll do it too, but that's probably the way that'll work. And then from previous years, all landfill debris usually we take to the county landfill. There's no charge on behalf of the city, on the county charging us back. Because then they will use that tonnage that we take to them as a cost for them, and they get the money back from FEMA, so we don't have to deal with the paperwork. But all that'll come after the fact, and if the president declares an emergency and things of that nature.
You did say you're gonna relocate the big trash truck?
Everything.
Everything?
Yeah, all equipment that moves will be relocated. We're not gonna take a chance of 6-7 feet of water like we had 2 years ago. But now 2 years ago we had well over 17 inches of rain. Not saying we're not gonna get that. 2 years ago I sat in my office and we kind of talked and said, oh, we're gonna be okay, and you know, that thing fooled us all. So we're prepared today, as if it's coming more than what they're telling us. And we're not gonna change directions until we know for certain. Yeah, but we're gonna go ahead and move equipment just so we don't have to do it at the last minute. And that's all I have at this time, Mayor.
I think 2 years ago, everybody was in a state of shock. They saw it.
Run. There goes that.
Well, I don't have trees anymore.
I don't have them close.
Thank goodness to Matthew. I've already handed those out.
That's gone.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't maybe you had that.
Okay. If you'll look at your general fund financial highlights, I'm just gonna give you a highlight of what I've got here. If you've got any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. But I did a comparison from August of last year to August of this year. In our operational accounts, this year we got $1,506,889. Last year, this time, we had $1,299,782.
Where is that?
That would be one of the handouts I gave you
Yeah.
earlier.
Okay.
It's got general fund at the top.
Then on our revenues for this year in August, $312,170. Last year, this time was $435,823. That is due to the checks coming in like in July of this year. Last year they came in August. So the ones that you can see that was more like local option sales tax and let me see what else, and the state aid. And then we had some miscellaneous revenue last year that was due to FEMA on there that we don't have this year, which was $49,000 there. Okay. Then you go over, you look at your expenses. General fund payroll for August of this year, $238,300. Retirement is $35,241. Insurance, $38,750. And the FICA is $18,047. In 2017, it was $230,642. $31,548 for retirement, which it went up this year. Insurance was $41,264 last year. That's due to the timing of employees. And then the FICA was $17,547. So monthly expenses, excluding salaries and benefits for 2018 of August, is $158,181. In August of 2017, it was $252,461. Year-to-date expenses, excluding salaries and benefits, which the salaries year-to-date is $676,728 in this fiscal year. This time last year, it was $670,276. Our expenses year-to-date is $453,397. Last year it was $470,039. So Total revenues for the year is $645,760. Total expenses for this year is $1,130,125. Last year, the revenues was $638,442. The expenses was $1,140,315. So the revenues versus expenses is $484,365 in the red versus your revenues and expenses. Last year it was $501,873.
A lot of that's just when we get the money.
That's right, that's correct.
June's a big time.
Well,
It's-
June and January, because that's our biggest one.
Yeah.
Property taxes in January.
What is the insurance proceeds? It's on the Fund
Okay.
20?
What that is our water tank.
Okay.
The proceeds we got off the insurance on that,
Wow.
Where'd you see that? I'm sorry.
It's right here.
proceeds.
Yeah.
On there.
Let me see where it says it's on there.
You looking at the
I'm
summary?
looking at what y'all gave.
Oh, you look
Oh,
at,
I'm looking at that, I didn't put that in.
what is that on?
It's on Fund 20, Department 31.
Yeah, it's
the
water.
alphabet.
Water.
Yeah, it's water claim, where that come in at.
That was under revenue?
Yeah. That's the one that got $145,000 insurance and $5,000.
Oh, yeah.
That's what that
That's
is.
on that agreement with the water tank where they paid us their portion. That's what that is.
And one more thing, the stormwater, how much money do you anticipate on generating this whole year?
Well, if it stays the same, we're doing what, about 11,000 a month? So, what's that, 132,000?
Is that what you anticipated?
Somewhere in that ballpark, yeah.
Now, is the state, it's their stormwater drain, are they gonna give us any money also?
And what we'll do is we build up that account is to help, the goal was to hire 2 people who continuously do that and also use monies to be a part of our match for grants. If
We
get
also
grants.
bought a machine though, right?
Yeah.
$128,000 machine.
A year ago.
But did you ever find out, Glenn, how much money the state allocates, the county or the city, because the city gets a portion of the money.
For what money?
The stormwater, the upkeep of the stormwater drains and stuff,
They
and
get
the
all of
sidewalks. We get so much money, the state gets so much money to help us with that cost. I don't know, what it is.
We don't get any money out from the state.
But the state gets so much money for the county to help, and the city gets so much money too. We don't.
We don't get no money from the state.
So
Not from DOT.
What about the sidewalks? Then how does that?
Those are their sidewalks. And, they may have in their budget to do X number of feet in repairing sidewalks. And then sometimes they'll call and say, hey, we're at the end, I can get you the material if you'll put it in for us. And that way they can, excuse me, that way they can buy more concrete instead of having labor costs involved in it. But no, we never get anything from the state monetarily as far as
Because if we have a big water break underneath the road again, we're gonna be in trouble.
that is ours. That is our cost. Yeah. That is our cost.
Okay. All right, we got water. I didn't do the 2017 on the operation accounts, but to date through August, we've got $3,162,243. Our revenues for August of this year, $481,825. Last year, it was $311,653. Our expense highlights, our payroll for this year is $85,951. Retirement's $12,386. Insurance is $12,052. FICA is $6,516, totaling $116,905 for the month of August. For the month of August last year, payroll was $82,176. Retirement was $11,020. Insurance was $13,247. FICA was $6,329, totaling $112,772. Our monthly expenses, excluding your salaries and benefits, for August of this year is $168,968. August of last year, it was $216,863. Our year-to-date expenses, excluding the salaries and benefits of this year, is $243,957 for payroll. Last year, it was $235,769. So that brings our total expenses, excluding the salaries and benefits, is $309,828 this year. Last year was $419,258. Our total revenues in this fiscal year, $837,838. Last year, year-to-date, was $619,437. Our total expenses this year, fiscal year, $553,785. Last year, it was $655,027. So this year, our expenses, revenues versus expenses, we've got $284,053. Last year, it was $35,590 in the red.
Yeah, that's good. So we don't wipe it out
Well,
next week.
we're just in 2 months.
Now we're looking at the golf course. I didn't do the 2017, but just to give you highlights of the operating accounts, $3,592 to date. Our revenues, we brought in $19,377 in August. Our payroll, $13,935. Retirement's $1,317. Insurance is $1,764. FICA's $1,066, totaling $18,082 for the month of August. Our monthly expense, excluding the salaries and benefits, was $13,466. Our total revenues for the year is $42,601, but we transferred $15,000 from the 2% hospitality taxes, and that brought that to $57,601. Our total expenses is $67,888, leaving us in the red $10,287 for the fiscal year. And on the 2%, let me see.
Well, let me ask this question. Do y'all like doing it this way also? Does it help you?
I like it.
I mean,
Yeah.
just to give you a summary, it's still, we still give you that big sheet too.
Good.
Just to summarize.
You don't have to go line by line, boys.
Yeah.
You can read.
Okay. We've brought in the 2%.
We in the big negative, we didn't want to go line by line. We're in the big positive.
Leave it alone.
All right.
Hospitality, we've brought in $50,170 for the month of August.
Do that for 5 more months, that'd be another $250,000 that'll cost, cover your, cover our payment for these,
All right, Jan, thank you. Rich, anything you got? I know you've got yes here.
Just a couple of announcements. Depending on Florence next week, we had planned Spirit Week, and Spirit Week this is our first time doing that, and it was in partnership with a new project. A new project is founded by Eric Gunner and Felicia Tyson, who are local. They used to live here, but they live in Charlotte now. They've been doing the Dillon tailgate event now for 3 years. This will be the 4th year. And I wanted to partner with them this year because that event is a tourist event that I don't feel like the city of Dillon has been capitalizing on. That event brings anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 people home every year. So we wanted to undergird that event and welcome those folks back to Dillon and just make them feel welcome so they will keep coming and spending their monies here. Another one that we are working on for the holiday season is the downtown holiday window walk. I've spoke with most businesses thus far, and most people seem excited to participate. So we're looking to do a theme downtown holiday event for this whole Christmas season, and we're excited about that. We're also working on our CDBG grant. I know y'all are getting tired of hearing about this, but we're in the final week of that, and we will be submitting that on Monday, hopefully if Florence don't blow us away, and we'll see where that goes. We also have a resolution that they asked us to have signed tonight so that that could go in with the application. We have a second resolution for our downtown master plan. That is another grant that we're applying for through the South Carolina Municipal Association. The importance of that grant is when we start to do business downtown, that's one of the first pieces of paperwork that your funders ask for. They want to know what have y'all, as a body, decided that y'all want to do with downtown. So we've been asked that probably about 3 times since I've been here, and we didn't have it. So that's something we definitely need to obtain. Also tonight we have Mr. John Cock here, and he's going to talk to us about the Dillon corridor, and also Angela.
Angela Rogers.
Angela Rogers. I don't want to leave Angela out because she was instrumental in having this plan established for Dillon, and I just kind of came in on the tail end. So, do you care who goes first?
I don't think Angela's speaking, are you?
No,
You don't want
I'm
to
just
speak?
here looking at the.
When you submit with the grant, what is the response time to let you know if you got the grant?
I'm not sure.
Which
right
one?
now. I have to look in we have 2. We have the
CBDG?
But you
Uh,
got this resolution here, with $500,000.
that's, yeah, or no, yeah, 500,000 on the grant. That will probably be, applications are due here in September. It'll probably be late fall, early winter. Because the one in the spring is due in April, and I think we usually find out in July or August. So it's probably about a 3 to 4 month turnaround.
Are you working on anything else, grant-wise?
The downtown master plan.
That's it?
Yeah, that takes all my time. I spend about 12 hours a day on those for the past 3 months.
12 hours a day.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Should I come to the mic there?
And that way to pick you up right there also, or however you want to do it.
Great. Mayor, City Council, appreciate y'all having me here this evening. I'm John Cock with Alta Planning and Design. We had a contract through DHEC to work with 15 communities around the state on these pedestrian plans. Ms. Rogers helped Dillon be selected as one of those communities. And just to tell you a little bit about the program that DHEC is doing is focused on helping communities be healthier, both in terms of providing plans for infrastructure and program to promote walking and active living, but also healthy access to food, healthy food outlets. And so those are a couple of the big goals of this planning and funding process, community engagement, and planning around making sure recommendations are equitable. Let me see if we can get this to work here. We have to do this manually. Do you mind pushing that down button? Maybe. So,
Pushing people. It smiles just like that when
let's
you do
see
it.
if we can get that on the screen. So the focus of the plan for Dillon, and this was based on discussion with the city manager and a steering committee that was made up of a broad range of local agencies and groups. Infrastructure projects, it could be a catalyst for walkability, looking at hot spots for walking activity around the community, and then 7 different corridors, part of which create a walking loop in Dillon. So if you could hit that button one more time, we'll go to the next slide. Connectivity for pedestrians, near-term and as well as long-term capital improvements. The CDBG grant is going to look at funding one of the corridors from this plan, leveraging other efforts, including SCDOT and other community partners, and then identifying some funding. Those are kind of the big goals for this effort. Next slide, please. Thank you for your help.
No problem.
We looked at the just kind of looking at the community overall. We looked at it through a number of different lenses. We looked at kind of where there had been crashes for people walking and biking in the community over the last 5 years. The 301 corridor obviously is a big one. We also looked at kind of where the populations of folks that are more likely to be impacted by or have needs for active living infrastructure, seniors, children, people without households without cars, people receiving SNAP assistance, and those kinds of things. And that's what's shown in that map there. The areas with higher red are areas where there are higher concentrations of those populations. And then we also looked at where your parks and your active places for people to be active are located, as well as places for people to access healthy food. And you all are very fortunate to have a good number of stores that cater to selling fresh fruits and vegetables in the areas where there are high concentrations of people who need to walk to those kinds of places. Next slide, please. And so we developed a network, and this was not specifically a citywide network, but looking at sort of the highest need areas, and also looking at creating a walking loop to tie in some of the investments you all have made, as well as some of the economic destinations, the food stores, the schools, the parks, the wellness center, and those kinds of things. We looked primarily at these 7 corridors based on input from the steering committee as well as the public. We were here back in March and April. We heard from the public at your Celebrate Main Street event. We went to the high school, and we had a steering committee made up of a variety of agencies that kind of helped us narrow in on these corridors. And then if you'd hit the next slide. And so we have recommendations for each of the corridors. You'll see here for Radford Boulevard, the idea is to go from what it looks like today, the ability to create a median both for beautification as well as for safety for people walking and driving, and potentially even the addition of bike lanes on that street would create a more both aesthetically interesting corridor, but also safer for people using that corridor. Next slide, please. Thank you. Martin Luther King Boulevard is a key piece of a walking loop, and so the addition of sidewalks, curb and gutter, hopefully, and bike lanes to sort of complete the infrastructure on that corridor, which is a place where there's already sort of a demand for people walking. Next slide. And then on First Avenue and Reeves Avenue, another piece of the loop, connections to the school with the shared use path on one side of the road. Next slide. Along Commerce Drive, a shared use path connect to the Wellness Center and other destinations along that corridor. And again, this begins to be a continuous loop. Next slide, please.
That go back to Bradford Boulevard?
Yes, sir. Yep. And then we didn't look in depth at kind of the whole downtown redevelopment and economic development opportunities, knowing that you all are pursuing a downtown master plan. But we did think about, there are opportunities both with sort of near-term investments and long-term investments to create economic development kind of catalyst projects. And so this building is more of a conceptual idea. It wasn't, any economic pro forma, but more, how could it be, take an existing building.
Those who don't know, that's the ag building.
Yes, sir.
It looks just, yeah.
On the corner here, and set it up for, this is kind of the facade type program that you all are working on to set it up for new businesses, new investment. The plan also, in addition to sort of the infrastructure pieces, recommends several sort of programmatic things. The idea of a walking loop and some of the infrastructure that we talked about would create a complete loop, but beginning to publicize that, use signage and wayfinding so that people know, okay, this is a mile loop or a 2-mile loop that I could do for fitness. Some activities that could be done downtown to create more of a walking hub around the train station, etc., with both long-term and short-term kinds of improvements. Thinking about doing some temporary improvements that might, for example, improve a storefront in a pop-up kind of way is what some communities are calling it, just to get potential investors thinking about what could be. And that is the kind of thing that could be done in conjunction with one of your events, your Christmas events, for example. Public safety to promote safe walking practices, etc. And all of these ideas are sort of fleshed out in detail in the plan. Next slide, thank you. So in terms of moving forward for you all as an elected body, there was a great stakeholder committee that was established. Continuing that as a standing committee would be to kind of shepherd these recommendations and related going forward. There will be some things in here that you all can begin to prioritize for your infrastructure and capital spending as a town, but also in partnership with SCDOT and other partners, thinking about programs that you might want to invest in and building on some of your existing events. And then sharing the plan with the county, with some of your health partners, with SCDOT. And then we are, as part of this effort, we'll be back September 27th with elected official and a town leader from another community in the upstate to do a bit of a brainstorming and a workshop on how to get these kinds of projects funded and how they've been funded in other South Carolina communities. And so we'll be presenting a little memo to Glenn with some of the cost estimates, preliminary cost estimates for some of the infrastructure projects, and provide you all some fodder for what you might take on first from an investment perspective. So that's a very high-level summary. Appreciate you all making time for this, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
We've already done the groundwork for the walkway on MLK.
Yes, sir. We have actually used Alta Planning's plan in conjunction with the CDBG grant. That's what we're trying to do. So if this grant is funded, this will become the first phase of that walkable loop.
MLK.
Yes, sir.
Then you could go like Commerce or Radford's the second or third.
Yes, sir. And another quick thing I wanted to point out on here for y'all viewing is if you look on page 4, I thought this was some awesome facts from this plan that y'all might not be aware of. But on page 4, when under the little section where it says getting to work, where it talks specifically about Dillon, and it's talking about the 4% of workers that commute by walking. Just read over that. That is some very interesting statistics that we will be using as we apply for funding.
But where are we at on the brownfield project? We're trying to get that cleaned up and making it a park or something. I mean, we done a phase one over
I mean, that's far as we've done is from the.
but I mean, if we gonna, do this project, I mean, would it be nice to try to get something?
It'd be nice if we can ever get our hands on that property.
Yeah.
And right
I think
now,
that would just even enhance it.
the old basket factory. It absolutely would. It would enhance it. Because that's basically where this would start, is at, what is it, Jackson or Madison?
Madison.
Street, so that would be right there, yeah. Absolutely.
Is that a high pedestrian fatality rate of 4.4 per 100,000 people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Higher than the state average, for sure.
All right, John, thank you so much.
Yes, thank y'all for your time.
Before I forget, kind of on the same line, the alley on, our last alley, I know they've done the preliminary work on the water line. When are they gonna lay the blacktop?
We're waiting on the contractor right now. Should be soon.
So,
Well, we've done it, yeah.
all right. Okay. All those areas are neat. Pick off a lot. Citizens report anything out in the audience? Don't bring to our attention. Anybody? All right, moving forward, unfinished business, none. New business ordinance 1813, amending and raising the keeping of chickens and fowl.
This is the ordinance that was asked to be brought back to amend the previous ordinance that we have. And in my letter to council, I think I listed 10 things that was addressed in this ordinance, which one is no more than 4 domestic hens or domesticated hens. No roosters allowed. Hens must be well confined in a coop. Coops must be well drained and cleaned regularly. Coops only located on the rear of a property. Coops must be screened from the side and rear lots by shrubbery or privacy fence of at least 5 feet tall. Coops must be 15 feet or more from the property lines. Coops must be at least 60 feet to the nearest residential house. Abutting property owners must agree by signing a letter given to the city to allow their neighbors to have up to 4 hens or any hens. And anyone maintaining these chickens prior to this ordinance passing has 90 days to conform and comply with the new regulations. And most of this, we don't reinvent, excuse me, we don't reinvent the wheel. We always get information from other communities, and a lot of that comes from the city of Parks.
The only one I would question would be number 9.
Abutting property owners.
The guidelines.
Pardon?
You gonna go by the guidelines laid out. You won't be able to do it. I mean, I guess I would rather see if they didn't, then the neighbor complained, then the city steps in.
I think the old saying goes, which came first, chicken or the egg? I mean, if we're gonna get involved, we should be involved in the beginning.
Well,
That's my thoughts.
With number 9 though, you're putting everybody involved.
Well, and I'll use you as an example. If somebody's got hens, how close do you want them to your property, or do you mind if they have them until
As long
they have
as
them?
they abide by the guidelines set by the city, I'm fine. They have to do that. If they do that,
But I understand as long as they do that, but I guess the point being is there still be neighbors who still would not like to have them next door to them. And we put guidelines on pit bulls. I just think if people, as the city of Parksville said,
The neighbors have the right to come and say they don't want their neighbor having a pit bull.
yeah.
Do they?
And yeah, well, no, they do not. They do not. They do not have that right. However,
I would think that would be more important
But-
than asking your neighbors.
but at the same time is if the neighbors, and it could be 1 or 2 neighbors, depending on where the house is, property is, and they're abutting to, another property line. at least if they're on board in the beginning, 3 months from now, they can't come back and say, you gotta do something about it. No, you've already signed and said you had no issues. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, how about someone that's already got hens there?
They've
Do
got
neighbors
90
have
days.
to-
They've
do
got
neighbors
90
also have to give vacated?
If this passes as presented, they have 90 days to comply and conform. Yeah.
Then there's no grandfather policy at all.
And that is
At
correct.
this time.
That's fine, I'm not gonna knock it, I mean, I get it, but it's not a hick endorsement for farm animals. I mean, people are into organic foods today, I mean, that's where I'm coming from. So some people, I have quite a few companies, they like that, they like to be able to do their own. All right,
Well, the only problem I have with it is, we got a $1 million medical plaza that we just built and is very nice. And we could potentially have 4 chickens per occupant on that side of the fence. And I think it's terrible. That shows a bad eye of being able to allow that to happen. Dr. Wallace, you in the medical field. I don't think we invest money in for chickens to be on the side of a fence. You know? It's crazy. Look, I mean, I'm only one vote here. And I got a rooster waking me up every morning. You know?
We gonna
So
get rid of that.
you feel that pain.
You don't
Feel
need-
that pain.
You don't need the alarm
But
clock.
then they gonna move the hens
I
over
wake the
across.
rooster up.
They gonna move the hens over across to the fence. And we're gonna have the OBGYNs coming in, and they're gonna be smelling that mess, they're gonna be hearing that mess. And then what's it gonna be happening then? I guarantee you come back and you revise. I guarantee you. So, hey, I see what happens.
all right, we'll go with it.
Need a motion.
Have a motion to
Make a
proceed,
motion.
yes, have a second?
Second.
All in favor, do so indicating aye. Aye. Opposed?
Got no choice. I go with you, you know what I'm saying?
No.
I got no choice.
Kind of what he's saying is though, that we're leaving in the part where they have to get the neighbors.
Well, you know what, Dr. Wallace, I'll add a little bit more, I wasn't gonna say it though. So now, when it's out there in that field, when you get out of work, and you go down 8th Avenue, they're gonna have to potentially put a chicken coop right there in that field. Is that gonna look good in the neighborhood? I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
We're not really thinking about what we're doing. We're just up here appeasing maybe a small handful of people. And I'm only one vote. But I'm just letting you know, we're in the hospital right here in our neighborhood. In a nice neighborhood. They just built over $1 million medical plaza. So, I mean, I leave it like that.
All right, keep carrying.
Should you vote yes, no, or didn't vote?
I voted, well, I got no choice.
I'm just,
abstain.
okay. I was,
Ordinance 1814, recovery of collection costs through set-off debt collection act.
now this is, we've been doing through the municipal association in the state, the set-off debt is where people leave without paying us for water or sewer bill. As people get their tax dollars back, we're on the list to be given some portion of that money to catch up on accounts that are no longer active with us.
Make the motion.
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Resolution 318, providing a local match for the municipal association's hometown economic development grant and following its procurement policy.
How much is that involved?
This grant's worth $25,000. Our portion would be $2,500. And this is
Make the motion.
this is what Bridget was talking about on the downtown master plan. This is through the municipal
We
association.
got that, I mean, we can,
Yeah,
I know we got
We can do
$2,500, but
$2,500.
is that budgeted or is that out of budget?
that
Do
would
we
be
have
out
to
of
do-
budget. Yeah.
Do we have to do something special?
Well, let's wait and see if we get the grant first.
I'll
This
make
is
the
not
motion.
saying we're getting it. This is just saying you're giving us the authority to apply
All
for
right, we
it.
have a motion, have a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, indicating no. Motion carries. Resolution 418, authorizing municipal association act as a claimant for the city of Dillon and collection of debt through the set-off debt collection act.
They collect the money on our behalf and then they write us a check.
Make the motion.
Have a motion, second, all in favor, please begin indicating by saying yes. Anybody opposed? carried. Councilmember reports.
No. You got the agenda, resolution 0518 that was added.
Okay, where's that at?
That's the one we gave you prior to council
Oh,
meeting.
that's the one we already did. Is that the submission of the application to the CDBGA program?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the resolution
motion.
0518.
All in favor?
And this is the resolution for us to apply for the community development block grant for the Martin Luther King area, up to $500,000.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Those opposed? Now, council member reports, Mr. Dillon.
I wanted to ask David, about the mopeds. I'm seeing a lot of mopeds on our main highways. Is that allowed by law,
It
David?
is, yes. There's speed restriction on it, they've got to wear a helmet and wear a yellow colored vest. That was something, I'm not sure when that legislation goes in effect. I'll check on that.
Is it a certain age that's got to wear the helmet and the vest if they're over a certain age?
Well, no, they used to, they did not have to have the moped license. Now they have to have a license and they have to have insurance on it.
You don't have to have a license though, right?
Well, now they will have to have a license.
A moped license. And I'm not sure either when that goes in effect. That was just this past spring. I'm not sure. But you can find that out, can't you?
I will.
Bridget, do you work close with the chamber?
Yes.
Is it possible we can, and the mayor, I'd like the mayor to get involved, to try to waive the fee for the parade, the Christmas parade? So the parade will be a whole lot bigger. It costs a lot of money to put a float into the parade. And I would like to see us correlated with the lighting of the Christmas tree, to have a bigger parade. It costs so much money that people don't want to, put something like a float.
How much is?
It's like $300 for a float, correct, Greg?
If they rent theirs, it's $300-400. If you do your own, I don't know the cost, but it's not quite that high.
But if you could get with Johnny, and maybe Johnny could come back and present things to the council. It's coming right down Main Street. We have a nice parade, and maybe, I don't know if Todd will want to do it.
I'll get with her to see if we can do something to increase participation.
Okay, because our parade's real small. We could do a lot there. We make it nice. Good. And we ever talk about getting an app for the city of Dillon to where, situations like now with the hurricanes going on, we can update the app and people could look at the app and see what's going on?
If I can find somebody that knows how to do that.
If we could look into that, I think that'd be a little more beneficial to
I'm
the city.
talking about on staff. Yeah, it would go. We do as much as we can with Facebook and things of that nature. But yeah,
Just
we can look at that.
Startup or something like that. And that's all I had. Well, I did, hold on, one more thing, I'm sorry, Bob. How often did the Economic Development Director work with the city of Dillon? As far as bringing in, trying to help get us restaurants? I know we don't employ a lot of people in the city. But since we don't have one on board now, what can we do as a city to try to lure a nice restaurant here?
Well, I think the mayor's called some, I've called some.
Maybe he might want to enlighten me a little bit about it, because I don't know, but a Chick-fil-A, these people would love to have a Chick-fil-A here.
I called Chick-fil-A a number of times, so no go.
So is there anything possible that we might be able to get a nice
Restaurant, I spoke to the Lions Club the other day, and they did a study in Dillon, and Dillon, that's a town our size, should be able to support 3 restaurants on Main Street, and other than Sydney's, which is Auburn, there isn't one. And I was talking with Bo McGinnis, he said, man, I wish I was 15 years younger, and all the opportunities for a restaurant, man, it's wide open. It blows me away, nobody stepped up to do it. It's all kinds of things a young person can do today with a community that's growing due to the port. I gave another example of, we have to carry our animals to a boarding house in Florence. I was going to back a person to do one here, then I haven't heard back. What a wide open business. That's another. There's all kinds of opportunities.
I agree with you. I just wonder what else we can do. Is our hands tied?
Well, the only thing,
Well, we do, you heard me earlier tonight about the hotel, and they are looking at a full-scale restaurant, so.
And I believe a hotel, if that does locate here downtown, I think that will spur something. But now at the same time, and, you know, I hear from local business people, we just don't get to support local. So.
You do when it's run good. That restaurant up there, Kintyre House, used to be loaded on evenings and stuff while it was running good. It went down, you quit going, I quit going. And, they'll support it, I guarantee they will support it. But they want a product to support. I can tell you that right now. The restaurant's a hard business. Osby Khalil sits up there with Nader Khalil round the clock, and that's just what it takes. Wendell put capital into Sydney's, he spent time in it, he made good service, good food, 4.5-star restaurant, boom, it's a money maker now. It takes a vision, it takes money, food, but and the property owners have to be willing to fix their buildings or sell them or rent them. You gotta, there's two sides to it, you gotta have a location. I think it's coming though. Anything else?
That's all right.
I don't have anything.
I'm good. I'm good.
Glenn, you mentioned this, the sandbags, bring your own bag
Yes, ma'am.
and show.
Bring it back.
Sand though.
Joe Johnson's got them at Farm and Feed. I don't think Ace has any, but I know they have them.
The drainage, I noticed that the grass is real tall in that ditch, I think first
We've
Avenue.
had problems all summer with our ditch bank cutter.
Mhm.
It has been down most of the summer and we hadn't
But
gotten
usually
it
it's
back.
clean.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
but it's all
Yeah.
now down on the food line.
Yeah.
And,
It is.
And, a lot of stealing's going on.
Ma'am?
A stealing
Yes.
is going on, theft, so, we have a trouble spot, I had to call, Chief Lane regarding some thieves. Because we have a trouble spot now in that little community. And, the train station, is anything going on in there, at the train station
In the
itself?
building
In the
itself?
building itself?
Yeah, the CSX Railroad works out of that building. Yes, ma'am. It's 3/4 of that building. I mean, they have one office in there and then they have what they call a bunch of switches that operates the tracks and the signals. But yeah, they do operate out of that building. And then Amtrak's got a portion of it, restrooms and seating area, I guess, on the inside.
You said restaurant, to what?
No, restrooms.
Restroom is.
Restrooms. Yes, ma'am.
That's all right.
Okay, have a motion to adjourn, go into executive session.
Make that motion.